Hello and welcome to Liberty Libations number 45. My name is Jake Green. Thank y'all so much for joining me today. I am joined as semi-usual by Zane, Placie, and Mr. Alden Hardee.
Cheers.
I believe, and Zach Varnell is our producer in the background. Nick Ciesieslki should be on here in a minute for a little while, and then Steve Hilton will be on a little bit later. And once Steve gets here, we'll launch into trivia. But let's see. What is some stuff we need to talk about to start this episode? We had the pub crawl on Saturday night. Alden and myself went down along with Jared and Zach. And I don't know, how many people were there, Alden?
I mean, the group that was like roaming around the city with us was like 20 strong or more. And I think there was a few more to start at Moon River, probably 30 or so.
Yeah, I'd say they're probably 30 total. So it's pretty good. I mean, it was a good turnout considering a lot of those people drove like multiple hours to get there.
Yeah, I had a layover at your house. Yeah.
yeah, you had a layover. It was great. No, but it was a good time. We hit
Totally
up
worth it.
Moon River Brewing, a speakeasy that I'd never heard of.
I can't remember the name of it at this point, but yeah.
And then a piano. Whoa,
Alden what was that?
Disappeared for a second. A piano bar, right? Dueling piano bar. That's what it was.
Sing me a song, you're the piano man.
I'm sure that was sung at some point.
Yeah, I think it's the law.
It has to be. I mean, they got to end every single night with that song. But yeah, we walked around some of the Savannah squares and pointed out some spots where they were using surveillance technologies to watch citizens. Just minding their own business.
I always I know they're there, but going on the walk, I was like, wow, there are more than I even think of when they're like, oh, there's one, and there's one, and there's one. Yeah. And wow, okay, there's 5 that you see multiple angles of me in one spot on the street. Yeah. Anyway, it was alarming.
Once you start actually looking for them, then it's like, oh crap, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
It gets really weird and creepy, and people just don't recognize them, and people also don't think that it's that big of a deal.
We're getting too used to it. Yeah, we're like the frog in hot water in terms of how normal this has gotten.
Yeah. It's not my favorite thing, but yeah, that was all part of the Banish Big Brother project, anti-surveillance, and all of that. So go to banishbigbrother.com to learn more about that project. Nick, do you have the LP Georgia page pulled up? Anyway, you can throw that up on the screen.
Is he on?
I mean, Zach, sorry.
Oh.
Not Nick. Nick just messaged, so I got a little confused.
You crossed a wire there, yeah.
Yeah. I've been traveling all day today, so I'm a little bit off.
You're excused.
Thank you. Oh, I can go now? Thank you.
Yeah. On a personal note, though, it was fun. What are you drinking? Yeah.
Yeah, what is everybody drinking? Zane, you drinking anything?
I've got a bourbon barrel-aged blueberry wheat ale.
That is a lot of words. It's a lot of words for one beer.
It's definitely the fanciest you can be while still drinking beer.
No kidding. Alden, what are you drinking?
Whiskey and Coke. I'm also realizing I just want to say Jack and Coke. Whiskey and Coke just doesn't roll off the tongue the same way like bourbon and Coke.
I agree. Is it Jack?
Liter of cola. It's not Jack. It's like Ancient Age or something. Yeah. It's the same one I had on the flask down in Savannah.
I'm drinking Curious Elixir number 5 from the Curious Elixir catalog, which is a non-alcoholic drink because not feeling all that hot today. So
how does Curious Elixir number 5 compare to Curious Elixirs 1 through 4?
Well, 1 through 4 they're all different. They're all based on different cocktails. So this one's based on an old fashioned. It's delicious. There are a few that are terrible. There are a few that taste like black licorice and anise, all that crap. Yeah, some people like them. I prefer. There are only 2 or 3 that I actually thoroughly enjoy.
Yeah, I don't like anise. I prefer a nephew.
Oh my gosh.
But
Grumpy Gnome is drinking Jameson over on Rumble. yeah,
It was fun to meet him and hang out. That was fun.
Yeah.
It was cool to like put faces with names. Like
Right.
my
yeah.
ice just like, I don't know if anyone heard that. My ice just
We heard it.
exploded. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it is not, because you haven't really met much of the people in LP Georgia, so you got to put a lot of names to faces.
Yeah. No,
so-
it was worth it even just for that. It was like 3 layers deep of like worth it factor
Nice.
to meet people and like get like more, acquainted and involved in the party. Then the whole actual mission, meet Chase, was cool, and then actually a 4th one just being back in Savannah, just because that was our old stomping ground. So
yeah, I mean that was a blast.
It was fun.
Freaking blast. Okay, Zach, let's pull up lpgeorgia.com real quick. If you have any questions about the Libertarian Party of Georgia, if you want to get involved with the party, if you just want to talk to somebody, go to lpgeorgia.com to learn all about it. You can get in contact with us there. If you want to contact me specifically, podcast at lpgeorgia.com. I never check it, but you can email. Oh, welcome to the stage, Mr. Nick Ciesieslki. How you doing, dude?
How's it going?
Good.
I've been better. I've been stressed out, so
Well,
crazy stuff going
time to
on.
de-stress, man. Time to
That's-
de-stress.
well, I
Drink
have
a
nerd
libation.
meeting.
I know. Well, just show up drunk for nerd meeting, and that'll
I could do
that'll
that.
help your stress level. Zach is pulling up the 2024 LP Georgia Convention page. It is on January 26th through the 28th. It is at the VFW in Conyers, Georgia. Ticket prices are available now, or tickets are available now. Early bird until October 30th. What is that? I can't. $62. That says. And then there we go. 75 from October 30th to December 6th, and then late is 85 December 6th till the day of. So get your tickets now if you plan on going. I'd encourage anybody who's in the Libertarian Party to go to the convention and make your voice heard. Last year we had what was called the Great Create. We kind of merged a convention with a festival, I guess. And it was a blast. And then the year before that was just a regular convention in January, which was also a great time. We had a lot of great people working booths. We had a lot of booths up there. We had free, legal, and not so legal things spread out for anybody to partake. Yeah. So if you're interested in coming to the convention, there's a lot going on, and we'll talk about it more. Grumpy says that Rumble was lagging bad. Interesting. StreamYard might not be the go-to, especially with my dadgum lag myself. Okay. Yeah.
Work in progress.
Work in progress. All right. Well, let's pull up the first story. Zach. Actually, this is a story that is not in the title.
I realized how little prep I had done for the show this week when I realized I had no idea what the topics were until I saw the title card. So all of my brilliant commentary tonight right off the dome.
All right. So the reason I brought this up is because I had a conversation with a Ukrainian friend, acquaintance of mine, that did not go well after my latest post on Instagram. So let's talk about this for a second, then we'll dive into that. So Russia-Ukraine war, British PM urges West to equip Ukraine to, quote, finish the job. Then Ukrainian journalists reported missing as it happened. I don't really know anything about that. But the British Prime Minister is urging us to continue to equip Ukraine to, quote, finish the job, which... Who here is actually sold that the job is being done well and that we're on the brink of actually
or near finishing it all? Yeah, because every skirmish and war in history is like basically like Grenada, and it ends in 2 days, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's weird that they're trying to propagandize us into believing that Russia is like turning tail and running and heavily losing this war, when if you've done any research or done like followed people that aren't in the corporate press, the casualties and the losses are not nearly as bad for the Russians as they are for the Ukrainians. And yeah, I mean,
kind of like what everyone said going into this, though. The warning going into this was that it's like poking the bear, and that Russia just has like infinite resources, and it's going to end poorly for someone going against Russia. I don't know. This is just that's not a surprise.
Yeah, it's not a surprise. I mean, I know that Russia started out not putting all of their forces into war, and they had like something like close to 1 million people just waiting.
Yeah.
And now I think they're starting to send those in waves. So I don't know, man. None of this seems legit. I don't think it's going to end anytime soon unless somebody really forces these two countries to get together and have peace talks. But something.
So if the goal here is in fact not to help Ukraine, but to just use Ukraine as a tool to try to bleed the Russians, which multiple top U.S. officials have come out and said that that's what we're trying to do here. Yeah. Then perhaps the job is actually being done quite well. But that's not the pitch that's being made to the American people, and that's obviously a terrible way of treating the Ukrainians. I would be interested to know how many of them would want to really continue this fight over two Ukrainian territories that when they had a referendum in 2014 of those people, if they actually wanted to join Russia or stay part of Ukraine, they voted overwhelmingly to join Russia, and Putin said, no, we don't want you.
Yeah. I mean, it is interesting. I know. So the whole reason that this came up was I reposted a Libertarian National Party post that they did on Instagram, which just basically said, no more money, or not one more dollar, or something like that. Not one more cent, with the Ukrainian flag as the color scheme. And I posted that, and this guy reached out to me and told me to take it down, first of all, to delete the post. And
delete your account.
He said,
you're not allowed to have that thought.
He said I was looking stupid. And most of his arguments were extremely emotional, and like emotion driven rather than anything based in logic. Not one more cent. There it is.
Not one more cent.
There we go.
You missed a golden opportunity.
And so the one interesting point that I thought we could talk about is one, he claimed, which I did no research on this, so I didn't have an argument for it, that we basically talked Ukraine out of either giving up their nuclear weapons or ending their nuclear program, with us promising that we will defend them, which I don't remember ever hearing or reading about or anything like that. But we did for a very long time, and more recently, get super involved in Ukraine. And he believes that since we've been so involved in Ukraine in the past, that we are obligated to see this through. So what are your thoughts on both of those things?
Well, I mean, we have been incredibly involved in Ukraine in the past, especially since 2014. I don't have any specific knowledge about convincing them to give up their nuclear program, but that sounds like something that the U.S. would do, to just go around giving out pledges of defense willy-nilly in exchange for whatever it is that our top diplomats want.
Right.
But just because we've got our fingers in all of these pies all over the world doesn't mean that we are going to make the situation any better by continuing to be involved. All that our continuing involvement here is doing is getting even more Ukrainians killed over nothing. Literally absolutely nothing.
Yeah. Nick, you got any thoughts?
I have no thoughts ever.
Oh, perfect. I don't know what you're doing here then. Alden, you got any thoughts on it?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics on this, but I know that it, like Zane said, it sounds like the U.S. to be like, oh, it's fine. Like, basically disarm yourself and we'll be your big brother, in this whole thing. Except we've probably done that a lot, and we probably have not held our word. So, like, I'm curious as to why in this one particular instance, like, why, like, what is our advantage in wanting to do this? I'm I don't know the whole scope of this. I actually want to look into this more, honestly, in the specific sense of the disarmament and in the broad sense of like our motivations for being there.
Yeah.
I don't know what the nuclear, what would it be, just like a deterrent like for Russia to not like prod them or something like that? Because like you hope you never need nukes anyway. So like I don't know what good they would have done in the on the whole anyway, but
yeah, and both those points were points that I made. But man, it's an emotional topic for somebody from Ukraine. And it was super difficult. This was what was hard about the conversation is it was extremely difficult for him to understand that I was literally standing on a principle, and that if you break your principles, then the principles are useless.
Yes.
And so he may have comprehended it, but he could not accept it in any way. And it became just a looped conversation over and over again, and just me saying, look, I don't support the war, and period. Like we definitely have had some involvement in Ukraine, a lot of involvement in Ukraine for the past almost decade, but we are doing far more harm than good by extending this war. So it would be much better for the American people and for the world in general for us to pull out of Ukraine. But man, it was so difficult to try to convince him of that.
When you think about the principle concept, let's even take it out of the Ukraine situation and just even domestically, just within our own country. We have such a problem, especially with like the left-right pendulum of like principles get eroded more and more each time, because like one side is like, oh yeah, I'm principled until it comes down to like where it benefits me, and then I want to avoid the talking about principle and just do the thing or whatever. And then the other side feels slighted, and then they're like, oh well, now we got to do it. And so you keep going back and forth, and it's emotional, like you were saying, and your own personal bias of like, yeah, but this helps me now, and I'm like, yeah, but it won't help you later if someone comes after what you're saying or what you're doing or what you're thinking later. You're like, yeah, you want people silenced for saying something, and there's stuff pulled off of YouTube now and they're saying something against whatever, the pandemic or something. I don't want to get
oh yeah,
put your own thing in there. I don't want to get us,
and it's not always like I want to do this for me. It's this exact scenario where you'll talk to somebody who is affected by it, and you'll actually feel the empathy. Like I felt empathy for the guy, and like I feel bad that this is happening to his home country. But like, if you make that concession that, okay, yes, we can be involved in this war, then it will never end. Like you've broken your principles, and you can't take that back, especially when it's en masse, like a country. If it's a single person, you can always find redemption, but a country, man, that's too many people. It's too many moving parts.
I think of it sometimes like children, like if you're raising a kid or something, and I don't have kids, so like maybe I'm speaking out of turn even on this or whatever, but like I think of this example of like if a kid is crying and they want candy in the store or something like that, if you cave and if you give them candy, now you're training them to need candy all the time. Like every time you go to the store, it's going to be hard. But if you face that friction the first time, this is an example and just in theory, but it'll help establish a habit. And that's more of like the going with the principle thing. If you feel for the kid and you're like, oh, you want candy, I want to help you, I want to be nice, but you're making it harder for yourself down the road. That's more like caving on the principle thing. And it usually makes it feel better at first, but then harder for you, and sometimes harder for the other party in the long run too.
Yeah, we should remember why principle is so important, because in this case, it's not even like our principle is to be against war, and so we've got to stand on that, even though maybe in this case it would be better to abandon the principle. No, it's not like that at all. It is, in this particular case, it would be worse to continue to be involved. And because we know that that's like, we have a principle and we know that it applies in every case. So it's not just, oh, we have to hold on to our principles because down the road we're afraid of what's going to happen if we give them up.
Right.
And
I guess I would add to that I don't admire principle in general. I admire the correct principles, but I'd much rather have Hillary Clinton than a principled communist, because as Dave Smith would say, at least with Hillary Clinton we can have prices.
I do like that. Yeah, I completely agree. Let's see.
Here's a fun fact about Ukraine's nukes. So they were all left over from the Soviet Union, and they were like the third largest nuclear armed power in the world. But Russia still had the launch codes and operational control of them.
Oh,
so when they couldn't figure out
no
a way,
wonder we wanted them gone.
yeah, and so because we couldn't get Russia off of them, they joined the nuclear non-proliferation, can't say that word, treaty.
Proliferation, yeah.
So
it was Russia's nukes by proxy anyway. And so how much would they have helped Ukraine against Russia?
I feel like Russia could have just logged in and detonated them.
Yeah. I don't know.
Why are you hitting yourself? Why are you hitting yourself?
That's pretty good. No. That's pretty good.
Yeah, so
interesting. So yeah, they're in that case they're basically useless. Like they're
maybe
basically
worse than
useless.
The
Ukrainians. Yeah, maybe even detrimental. So interesting.
If that's the case, if that's like the scope of it, then I don't feel that that's a good leg to stand on in an argument.
One other thing this guy also claimed was that he believes that the peace talks that were happening at the beginning between Zelensky and Putin were, when Boris Johnson came over and basically convinced him not to sign it, was just a ploy by Putin to stall for time to send in new troops, which
it's exactly what NATO did when they signed the Minsk Accords. It was to stall for time so they could modernize the Ukraine army.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So if that's the case, then that's interesting. If like peace was never actually an option, then maybe he has a point. But it's all conjecture, and like he can't prove anything. We can't prove anything. But us being involved, we just should not be involved. That's basically what it comes down to. All right. Well, yeah, I just wanted to address that because it was a real life conversation I had with a Ukrainian guy. So
yeah,
gave a little different perspective on things.
No, it's fair.
Yeah. All right, Zach, let's go into our first story that's listed here. Ian Freeman sentenced. Yeah, that's funny. Sentenced to 8 years in prison.
Freeman sentenced.
For operating a Bitcoin money laundering scheme. He was sentenced in federal court for laundering over $10 million in proceeds from romance scams and other internet fraud, U.S. Attorney Jane E. Young announces. He's 43
Is that a
years
euphemism?
old.
What is a romance scam?
It's a scams like catfishing, that kind of stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, not actually fishing, but like catfishing people out of money and stuff like that. Yeah.
Right.
And Zach, let's go to the next article if you have it pulled up, because these two articles say very different things. This is from the Free Keen website. Zach, actually, can you give us a quick description of what the two sides are? Yeah.
Which this article is very long. I haven't finished it yet, but I've been following Ian for years and sort of knew the background of what was happening. So way back when he had, or I guess he still lives there. He has his house in Keene, New Hampshire, and he made it the Keene or Shire Free Church, something like that. And it was basically a tax avoidance scheme, which I support. If there's a way that you can not pay taxes by calling yourself a church, you should do that.
Plenty of other people do it for a whole bunch of other reasons too. Like there's food churches and stuff like that. Like this is a way that you can avoid a lot of bullshit and taxes and a whole bunch of other things is by,
Can we petition to get like Liberty Libations like officially recognized as a religion?
I don't see why not.
I don't know how comfortable I feel with this.
Well, no. I think the biggest issue is like freedom of religion and freedom of speech don't mix or something. I don't know, because like politics and religion, and I don't know how that works, but there's something weird with it sometimes.
The idea of me being the creator and host of a religion should terrify everyone on earth.
I don't know. You've got a pretty biblical beard going on. It might fit.
It's all a scam, man. It's not real. None of
Jake's
it's
going to be dragging us down to South America and making us drink Kool-Aid.
I beg you not to do this.
So in the church, which is also his house, he had a Bitcoin ATM where anybody could come and purchase Bitcoin. It might have actually just like a Bitcoin vending machine. You're just buying it there, I think was the deal. And he did not comply with know your customer laws. The bullcrap that says you have to
Idiotic laws.
give your like social security number and a scan of your license and all this stuff to Coinbase or wherever it is you're buying Bitcoin. He didn't do that, which I also think is his right. That law, we can talk about that law, but I think he's free to buy and sell without that regulation.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like then people were victims of scams who came to his location to buy Bitcoin that fed into scams. Not that he was running these scams, but
so
that
they're
people
linking
bought the stuff. Like it's like if you went to Walmart and bought a green dot card to send to Kenya or wherever, then Walmart is somehow responsible for that.
Yeah.
No, it's crazy. I mean, it's crazy.
And it's the picture of the ATM here says, let me find this. Bitcoin scam alert. There's like a warning right there
on the machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
This feels like the crypto equivalent of like you got caught selling Lucy's on the street or something. Like this is, where you get some sticky thing where they want you to go through the proper channel so the middleman gets their cut kind of thing, and you can't sell whatever. It's a bunch of nonsense.
Yep, it is a bunch of nonsense.
But
yeah, so
the feds are saying he was laundering money and involved in these scams, and like I'm not even sure how you get to that. And then this article too was saying that people lied in court and that people who were scammed implied that the money went to Ian when like maybe some fee for purchasing it did, but it wasn't like he was in on the scams.
Okay.
Yeah. Like, so it sounds very similar to the Ross Ulbricht thing where he just set up a website where people could transact. And it seemed, and people are going to use it for things that are not so great and things that are great.
And then he becomes the scapegoat for if someone then transacts in a way of their own free will or whatever.
Yeah. And right now, nothing's been proven. Actually, no, he was sentenced. So it
said sentenced 8 years or something.
So, yeah, I mean, we got to do a little more research into this. We should definitely follow up on it and do. Yeah, I say we dive deep into it because that's an interesting case study. It might be another situation like similar to Ross Ulbricht, except this guy didn't get 2 life sentences like Ross did. So, yeah, I don't know. Zane, you got any thoughts on it?
So, I mean, if everything that was in the Free State article is true, I have a lot of respect for this guy, and obviously he's, essentially a martyr for the movement. That being said, I think that all libertarians have to pause and consider that, there are real consequences to disobeying the state. Like a lot of times in libertarian circles, it's like we just joke about, oh, there's a law about this, but obviously you're a chump if you actually follow it. You should just ignore it. And if you can do that and be okay, then that's cool. But you've got to decide for yourself what level of risk you're willing to take. Yeah. And I don't think that you're a chump just for deciding that it's better in particular cases to obey rather than disobey.
Yeah. Yep. I completely agree. Yeah, I don't know. Nick, you got any thoughts since you're the head of the Bitcoin caucus?
It's bullshit. And, add to the list of political prisoners related to Bitcoin. So,
yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, in the end, like if someone is just hosting a website where people do things that he has no control over, that with Bitcoin, the whole point is that you have no control over it. So the mere fact that it was just a Bitcoin ATM means that there's not a single thing, or he should not be serving jail time whatsoever. He should never have been like indicted. He should never been any of this stuff. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So yeah, we'll do some more research and confirm that all those things are true.
Concerning though.
It's concerning. All right, Zach, let's go to the next one, dude. If you're around.
When's the last time you heard about like someone say like when the whole, I don't know, pick a thing, but like Wells Fargo when they were doing the, making up, fabricating accounts under people's names and, so they could fudge their own numbers and stuff. And, that's like truly like with the intent, like shady, fraudulent intent. And I don't remember any 8-year sentences for any of that. It was just slap on the wrist fines. And the fines
and barely
never
any of those
amount to as much as what they made from their activity. So they're incentivized to just do it again. But when it comes to crypto, 8 years for one person?
When it comes to crypto and being an individual.
Yes, that's fair too, yeah.
Not being a founding member of the Federal Reserve.
I feel like he's being made sort of an example of, which is what Zane was talking about, like kind of being a martyr.
Yep, I completely agree. All right, Zach, let's talk about migrants. Costa Rica president orders state of emergency amid surge of migrants heading to the United States. Man, we've talked about immigration for a few weeks now, and basically what I'm gathering is that everybody on earth wants to come to the United States, and there's no way we're going to keep them out. That's basically my conclusion at this moment. So first of all, what is it about our country that draws everyone to
I was just kind of thinking the same thing.
Because we're the best.
Freedom.
Thank you, Zane. Yeah, there's freedom in many countries on earth, and we had draconian practices during the lockdowns and COVID and everything, just like half of the world or more than half the world. So is it just a sentiment that's been around? Yeah, is it a sentiment that's been around since since Ellis Island time period? Like what is going on here?
There might be part of that idealism, but I also think when like so many of these other countries are like on a dollar standard or need dollars to survive, dollar trade being the overall economic sort of engine of the world. You get people who see that, know that they need dollars, know, well, all the dollars come from here, realize that us and our manipulation of the currency, the Federal Reserve actions, things like that, kind of mess with, cause a whole bunch of issues in their country, whether it's, bad incentives or, actions taken by like IMF, World Bank, stuff like that, the whole, true confessions of an economic hitman kind of stuff.
You can also send US dollars back home to family, and it's worth a lot more easier to spend than a lot of other countries' currencies.
So I think, from an economic perspective, if we printed all that money during COVID, that's kind of what led El Salvador to start going down the Bitcoin rabbit hole, right? Like, they were dollarized, and everyone in America got their $1,200 or whatever it was, but everyone else in the world who's using the dollar because they can't maintain their own currency just suffered the inflation, from inflation there, the buying power of it diluting. So at least on a world stage. So, if you're seeing like, hey, those guys there, in a way, they seem to be successful. The money that we have to use comes from there. They're rich. They have that, that would kind of lead you, beyond just the idealism, the practicality of, I need more. I need, I need to do better, make more money. Well, what are you going to want? Argentinian pesos or US dollars, right? So if you need dollars, you go to where dollars are. So I think that's part of it.
Interesting.
I think it comes to currency and consistent work in a lot of space.
Right. I mean, all incentives are economic, right? So if your best bet to make US dollars is to if you think your best bet to do that is to get to America, then
so I guess then the question is, how do we discourage people from doing this? Because clearly Kamala Harris saying "Don't come" isn't going to help anything like she did like 2 years ago. Because clearly,
why don't we put her on the border, and then her and Hillary Clinton can stand on the border, and everyone will see them.
She was the border czar.
She was the border czar. Joey Dell says, money, money, money. People see the fact that you can live in one country and make more money and opportunity than in their home.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a general idea. And, I'll give all the listeners a little bit of an economics lesson here. Why is it the case that the U.S. is rich and many other countries are poor? One of the major reasons is because we have so many more capital goods in the U.S. We have, all these machines.
I was going to say the
like
Anglo-American establishment.
What was that?
I was going to say the Anglo-American establishment. Someone needs to read his Tragedy and Hope.
Well, I didn't say the entire reason, but the big reason is we have a lot of infrastructure here that
read your Carol Quigley.
What?
Read your Carol Quigley.
Okay.
I haven't read Carol Quigley.
I'm talking over everyone's head here. All right, never mind.
But the idea is we have a lot of stuff here that just makes U.S. workers more productive than workers elsewhere. So, if you have, a backhoe, you're going to be a lot better at digging a ditch than if you just have a shovel or if you're just using your hands. And the U.S., figuratively speaking, has way more backhoes than other countries. So if a worker from a poor country can just get themselves here, their labor is just more valuable here than it would be elsewhere, not because of anything inherent to them, but because of all the stuff that's going to be around them if they get here. And not that, immigrants are really deeply considering capital goods, but they know that the wages here are higher, and that's why.
I was just going to mention wages, which is a twofold thing. If you land a job, like a legitimate, minimum wage job, the minimum wage is pretty high compared to a lot of places. But because the minimum wage is so high, there's also a lot of under-the-table jobs that people are incentivized to pay people under the table less than minimum wage to do certain kind of things that migrant workers would still then take on, and it would still be more than what they're used to.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm curious what you guys think too about, the foreign policy and drug war aspect of all this. Because, with our drug war, there's been a war in Mexico for however long. Not that all of these people are from Mexico, but how many countries have we meddled in and overthrown in Latin America? So it's really no surprise that there's a refugee crisis when we've been doing that.
Yeah, I mean, everything that happened in Venezuela, I know a ton of them are Venezuelan migrants, and we helped to destroy that country.
The CIA has been meddling so hard in Venezuela for a long time with their elections and things.
Every country down there, right? Nicaragua, Panama, Colombia. It's not a short list of.
And a lot of it does have to do
challenge
with
would be to name a country we haven't meddled in.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. But a lot of it has to do with drugs. And we talked about this on another episode with our own. We have laws against drugs, which then makes an illegal market for drugs coming from these places, which then screws up these people's homes down there with cartel and stuff that wouldn't necessarily have a foothold if we were softer on criminalizing at least drug use here.
This is what I always tell people. If you allowed Walmart to sell heroin, the immigration problem would be drastically reduced.
We'd have another problem potentially, but I do think that statement is true. Yeah.
Yeah.
We already have that problem anyway.
Exactly, though. So, yeah, at least you wouldn't get fentanyl slipped into it and just die. I fucking know people that have had that happen to them.
All right. So I pulled up a list of, let me see if I can zoom in here. Nope, that is the wrong page to zoom in on. Hang on. Let's see. All right. So this is value of different currency based on the US dollar. So basically everything from, Bermuda and Bahamas are us, basically. So everything.
Bahamas uses, those are pegged to the dollar.
Yeah. Everything north of this is stuff that's worth more than the US dollar, and everything below it, which is quite a few, is worth less than the dollar.
Right.
So there, I mean, look at all these. The worst one is Iran, Lebanon, Vietnam.
Of course.
Like all of these are worth thousands of times less than the US dollar.
I am not surprised.
You've got to be careful looking at stuff like this, though, with no context, because obviously a lot of these countries really do have terrible currencies that are worth nothing. But part of it is like, you know, the Japanese yen, it's worth about like 1 US cent. But that's really just because the yen is just denominated differently. So like if we just cut all our dollars into 100s and called that a dollar, you know, our dollar would be worth 100 times less, but nothing would have really changed. We would have just started calling cents dollars. And it's not that Japan's economy is 147 times weaker than ours is. It's just that they've denominated their currency in the different units.
You've got to look at the change over time between the two.
Fair enough.
You know, like at one point, whenever the pound was stronger, and then this past year, the pound came down and was worth less than the dollar, and now it's back up over, I believe.
Yeah, it's back up over again.
That kind of movement is what kind of makes that decision. It's just the US dollar is kind of the benchmark there, although we can make that comparison to anything, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that's true. You do need some context, and yeah, you're absolutely right on different values of currencies, Zane. But the mere fact that there are so many that are on the southern side of that list, I mean, the odds of them, there being that many, like a ton of countries citizens who would like to come to the United States because they can make more money is pretty substantial, in my opinion. Anyway, yeah. What do we got next, Zach? There's another little bit on immigration. It's a video with one of our favorite journalists.
Refugees has Poland taken?
0.
And you're proud of that?
If you are asking me about Muslims illegal immigration, none, not even one will come to Poland. Not even one if it's illegal. We took over 2 million Ukrainians who are working, who are peaceful in Poland. We will not receive even one Muslim because this is what we promised.
But I asked not about illegal immigrants. I asked about refugees. And Jean-Claude Juncker, the Commission president, says that you're racist. You sound proud of the fact that you haven't taken any refugees.
Of course, because this is what our people are expecting from our government. That's number one. This is why our government was elected. But this is why Poland is so safe. This is the reason why we had not even one terrorist attack. Look at the streets in Poland. And we can be called populists, nationalists, racists. I don't care. I care about my family and about my country.
Anyone want to go back to the homeland?
I mean, I kind of want to go to Poland now at this point. Like,
I got the name for it.
What do y'all think of those comments? I thought it was.
It's
great.
Very telling. It went to Juncker calls you a racist. His response was, I don't care.
That clip is good evidence that the attack of being called racist is starting to really lose any power or meaning whatsoever, which is why, of course, everybody has changed from calling people racist to calling people white supremacists now, because that term is even scarier. So maybe they can salvage at least some of the impact. But everybody's realized that whenever somebody's calling you that, they don't mean it. It's just a lazy shortcut of saying you're wrong and stop talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say for me...
Yeah, they don't have an argument.
No.
It's a what they call a thought-terminating cliche. If they call you racist, then the conversation is over and you lose immediately.
Once even accused of it, yeah.
Yeah.
It reminds me of what Jake was saying earlier about like kind of an emotional stance on something as instead of a logical stance.
Yeah.
And I don't care for, even if like there was a conversation to be had here about the two positions, you're never going to have it when the journalist is like very clearly on a side and attacking instead of truly asking questions and trying to, compare notes and see where someone's position is. And I think my particular take on this, my bigger point, is the tonality is a problem.
Yeah. Yeah. Brian says he wishes he could have a sat for each time he's heard the term fascist used incorrectly. Completely agree. And Alden, a sat is a Satoshi, which is 1 unit of a Bitcoin.
Oh, I was like gonna ask later. I was like, well, Saturday? Are those worth anything? I don't know. How do you give someone a Saturday?
I just thought, very telling that on air on a huge show in the UK, the dude's just like, I don't care. Call me a racist, whatever. My people want this, and so this is what I'm doing. Like, that's some of the stuff that we need. I mean, I would love for politicians here to actually say stuff like that and not give a crap about the optics of something and just do what their people want them to do. But,
unless their people want them to do the wrong thing, in which case they should not do that.
true.
But then we need to define wrong.
Right.
And you have two groups of people
wrong
that have
is whatever
different...
I don't like, and right is whatever I do like.
Yeah. The American definition of wrong.
Perfect.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's go to this Axios graph. Still waiting on Steve to hopefully get here. If he's not here after an hour, then we'll do go ahead and do trivia.
Trivs.
Yeah. All right. Who posted this in our chat? Social media traffic.
I gotta go. So I'll talk
It was
to
probably
you guys
Steven
later.
then.
All right.
All right.
Peace, Nick. Have fun at nerd meeting.
Later, nerd. Yeah, it must have been Steven then that posted this.
All right. Well, basically, this is from Axios. It says social media traffic to top news sites craters. And it shows this graph for those just listening of how many times Facebook and Twitter referred, like in a tweet, referred to an outside source like CNN or CNBC or one of those
quote unquote trusted sources.
Exactly. And it went from, on Facebook, it went from 120 million, which was in December of 2020. And now it is down to 21 million as of a month and a half ago, 2 months ago.
Wow.
Hang on. Joey has one other thing to say about the migrant stuff. Anyone interested in becoming an illegal immigrant in Argentina if Javier Milei wins and turns the country around? I'd be interested. Argentina is beautiful. I'd live in Patagonia for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't even think it's that hard. You take a ferry ride to Uruguay, get your passport stamped, and come back, and you get another 90 days.
Yeah, I dig it.
Okay.
And if he turns it around, he'll probably
you can just
make it
perpetually
even easier.
do this. Yeah.
But anyway, I think it is I'm
just going to come on if you guys are good with it. I'm not
sure.
Yeah,
man, hop on.
Or not.
Yeah, we're not sure Steve's going to make it tonight. So, Zach's going to come on and lose really hard at trivia. So, yeah.
I'm
all right.
Alden.
He's Alden. You got to find a different name now.
I gotta find a new name. Fluffer.
So, I don't know. What do you think about this graph right here? Because it's very interesting. Do you think it has more to do with the fact that posting a link in a tweet makes it less likely to get more views? Or do you think it's fewer people actually want to reference sites that they don't trust anymore?
Yeah,
I mean, a big part of it has got to be that when they started this graph in August 2020, COVID was still a big deal. So whenever you've got a huge event like that, people are probably just going to be reading more news.
Yeah, can we see the
reading
10-year
reading more
graph?
mainstream news is bad. So I'm glad that it's not happening, regardless of whether it was COVID related or not. And I mean, I hope that even without COVID, people are putting reduced trust into the legacy media. But I think that a big part of it is not a giant own on CNN. It's just that people are less engaged because there's not COVID going on anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I need to see the years prior to know. But...
Well, they should have given us percentage, so like percentage of tweets, rather than like they should have given us hard data rather than just a graph with one variable.
A graph with the data is usually good. A graph just by itself is often you can design it a different way to be misleading. And I wondered if it was just like fatigue on the user part, or is this something? Do the apps have any like play in this on like what they promote more or less or anything?
Big time. Like if you post a YouTube link to a video, you will get far less circulation throughout Twitter than you do if you post that video directly to Twitter.
Okay.
So
also they made it so you literally can't share news in Canada.
Really?
Yeah. So all of Canada can't see news on Facebook, and they can't share news. Like I guess you try to share something from CNN if they would care about that, and it just will not let you.
What's the argument?
Canada is a better place for it.
What's the question, Alden?
Is it though? I mean, like none of us like quote unquote the news, here, but the fact that someone can dictate that and make that so and make that not possible feels like the bigger problem here.
Oh, it's definitely the bigger problem. I mean, it happens in China too. Like they're not allowed to go to a multitude of sites.
But we should clarify that what's going on here is that Canada passed a law that said that if people are sharing links to news sites on Twitter, then the news site has to be compensated for that because you're using their content. And Twitter said, we don't want to deal with compensating all these sites. We're just going to not let people share news at all. So it's not the state itself saying that you can't share news.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the same thing happened with Sky Sports, because on one of my Twitter accounts, I follow a lot of soccer, and I cannot see certain highlights from Sky Sports. It says this is not available in your area.
It's a copyrighted thing, like it's jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's a jurisdiction thing. It's bizarre, man. It's
Use
really
a VPN.
Google,
I do that.
Google was getting flack for only basically like supporting or like funneling traffic to YouTube-based video stuff. If you typed in the same thing in their search results or whatever, it would promote YouTube stuff, because of course they own YouTube.
Right.
So they were getting flack about that as being both a search engine, but also then trying to profit off of it and not being, equal at all, not even pretending to be. And so there's another kind of similar, like a related issue.
Yeah.
How dare a company want to make a profit?
Ugh, how dare they? How dare they?
Do you really? I mean, I'm curious if Zane is really like for like Google being able to like throttle results for, or boost a certain thing that supports them.
Well, it's Google's product. If you don't want to see Google's results, then don't use Google. I mean, obviously there are a lot of ways that big tech uses, the influence they have over the state to make money, and I think that that's very bad. But in this case, it just seems like they've got one part of their business that's trying to support their other part of their business. And, they've got competitors if you don't want to see everything on YouTube. So I don't really have a problem here.
Yeah. And that's the thing. As much as people don't want to say this these days, you got to do your own research, like figure out Google will try to hide the fact that they're censoring things and stuff like this. But like not every company will do that. And some will be completely obvious and blatant and be like, we promote our stuff first, and then the rest of the stuff comes second. And like,
why
I'm perfectly fine with that.
This works though, and Google does do this because they know a lot of people don't put in that extra effort to do their own research, and they do just use Google, and they do just go to the first thing that Google says. Yeah. Times millions of people.
Yeah.
So it bothers me.
Yeah, doing your own research was demonized over the whole lockdown, COVID, and everything.
Yeah.
Like, it's now, yeah.
There's you can only trust official sources, and you can only trust what pharmaceutical companies say, and your particular politician who used to be on the board of Pfizer or whatever. That's a fun circle jerk, but whatever.
The phrase "doing your own research" has kind of become very heavy laden recently, where I've been hearing a lot of people using that phrase to like mock people who say it.
Yep.
Yeah.
But it's important to clarify that when somebody says do your own research, they aren't saying go out and literally conduct your own pharmaceutical studies. Because obviously I'm not qualified
Get your lab
to do that.
kit.
What we mean when we say that is don't just consult the experts that are being promoted by the state. Go and there are plenty of other experts, and in fact, a great multitude of experts that are actively being silenced by the state and the big pharmaceutical companies.
Yeah.
And so it's not like I'm just coming up with this knowledge myself by doing my own research. All that means is finding dissident experts who are actively being silenced.
Getting a second opinion that's not funded by someone in, a direct.
Oh, hold on.
Oh, hey, Steven, what's up? In a conflict of interest.
Yeah, 100%. All right, y'all. Steven.
Cheers.
Steven Hilton is here. Cheers,
Oh, wait,
brother.
I need another beer, man. I got to cheers Steven here. I'll be right back.
There we go. Had to slide in the side door. So.
Well, welcome. We'll make
That's
sure
what she
to lock that next time. Yeah. Steven, sorry you couldn't make it to the pub crawl, man.
Yeah, I looked like a good time from what I could see.
Me and Alden had a fantastic time. We were out till like 2:30. Yeah.
Yes.
Me and Alden and Jared. It was great. Oh man. Yeah, I was eating a pepperoni roll at 2 a.m.
Oh, you can't beat
the
that.
only appropriate time to eat a pepperoni roll.
Darn right, from a gas station.
I realized this when we were there. Fancy Parkers was what we used to just call it. It's literally written above the door. Fancy
it's now called
Parkers.
Fancy Parkers. I think probably because we coined that phrase.
Did it used to be there? Was I just so drunk when we went that I never noticed it?
That was never there.
So they just started to officially own the local colloquial of Fancy Parkers.
I think so. Yeah.
That's so funny.
So over the last topic, Brian Allen commented, I remember there was a congressional hearing where they were asking someone from Google about their iPhone. Those are the kind of people who vote on regulations.
Excuse me, how do I take a screenshot?
Oh. Yep, Brian and Zach were there as well, though they didn't stay up till 2 a.m. Grumpy left at midnight. Yeah, it was a good time. Everybody had fun, so that was great.
It was fun.
Awesome. All right, we're gonna do this last story, and then we're gonna do trivia. Thank you for joining, Steven.
Yeah.
Stoked to have you here, brother. All right, y'all. Tech workers in San Francisco rent $700 a month sleeping pods. If you're just listening, these basically look like hostels that you would stay in while traveling. They are not meant for long-term living. They're meant for a night or two here and there. They're basically cubicles that you sleep in. Cubicles just big enough for a mattress.
If a cubicle and a bunk bed had babies,
that would be what this is.
What's that scene from Pineapple Express?
There
you go.
Which scene from Pineapple Express?
When James Franco's like, if that blueberry kush shit I had, and then that other shit, and if they met and they fucked, and then their babies met, never mind. When he's talking about the weed strain, never mind.
Yeah.
That's a good one. Anyway,
Watch your language. This is a family show.
No, it's not.
Oh, right. Yeah, because kids are really interested in currency and whatever else we're talking about.
Totally. Yeah. So basically, these are being rented out for $700 a month. Let me give you perspective on that. We rent out an entire bedroom of our house for about $900 a month. It's a whole bedroom, comes with full access to the kitchen, the rest of the house, the yard, the backyard, the living room, all of it. And they're renting these tiny pods out for $700 a month.
Is there a mini fridge in there?
Well, there's definitely not a regular fridge in there.
This looks like the whole array for 13 Ghosts.
What?
I haven't seen that in a long time.
That old Matthew Lillard movie, 13 Ghosts.
I never saw it.
Where there was like a plexiglass cube that had 13 ghosts stuck in it.
Yeah.
And they would murder you if you went in the wrong pod.
Or Cabin in the Woods.
I mean, does that not look like the most fun way to live ever. I mean, it looks great.
That looks even smaller than the promo picture.
Right. And
Yeah,
this
It's
guy's
like twin
inside.
size.
To be fair, the amenities the common spaces seem all right, I guess.
I would just sleep out there.
They look pretty. I mean, it looks like my college dorm room common spaces to me, but
But your work probably looks like that too. So you're basically never leaving work. You're going
Right.
from some tech job that has those cool amenities to your home that looks exactly the same.
I mean,
Yeah,
half
Google
these
has-
people probably work from home, which I guess should be rebranded as work from pod.
work from pod.
Google has nap pods at their headquarters, right?
Oh yeah,
I remember reading about that. Those little egg-shaped things, and they,
Oh,
they
yeah.
actually
featured in the hit comedy The Internship.
That's right.
Internship, right?
Internship.
I think it's Vince Vaughn and Owen Wilson. It's
Yeah.
It's a hilarious movie. I mean, those two are always hilarious together. But
No, that's Wedding Crashers.
yeah, it's definitely not one of their 6 movies they starred in together.
Yeah,
Wedding
right.
Crashers was a
Same
good
plot,
shit.
different movie.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Well,
At an old job I had, they had a nap room, and there was just a joke that if anyone ever used it, they would just slip a pink slip under there.
that's pretty good.
I'm sure some really creative code comes out of, coding from inside the pod.
I'm
A
sure
lot of
it does.
inspiration to look at on the walls and
Well, I
free
mean,
space.
I feel like the only reason to go in there would be to trip on shrooms for a little while.
Yeah.
Do some microdosing.
I was gonna say a similar thing. If you're gonna treat it like almost like a sensory deprivation pod kind of a thing.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. It's that time. Here we go. All freaking right, everybody. It's trivia time. Thank you, Zach, for hitting
I gotta move my beer
music.
so I don't knock it over trying to.
All right, for those just joining. Okay, actually, Libations trivia, this day in history, Olympics, and hostile life. Hostile, not aggressive or violent. It's things you stay in when you travel.
Like that really aggressive, violent movie
Oh yeah, totally.
called Hostel. Yeah.
Yeah. If you don't know the rules, here are the rules. You can pause this live stream and then catch back up because we're just going to keep going because I'm not reading these every single day. Good job, Alden. You found your camera.
I gotta find it every time.
Bravo.
It's like the clit, you gotta check, see where it's at.
Goodness gracious.
I'm still going to be searching at the end of the show. I don't know what to say.
All
Too many
right.
whiskeys, man. Too many whiskeys.
All right. The all-time scoreboard. Zane has 9. Nick has 4. Alden has 3. Guests and Steven have 2. And the audience has a resounding 1. Zane, don't comment on it. Just don't comment on it.
I was just gonna say that I see that nobody has managed to catch me in my absence.
He's
No,
so humble.
It was split. So Steven and Nick tied last week, and then Alden won the week before. So
I actually won. I beat Nick in rock, paper, scissors.
you did beat Nick in rock, paper, scissors, but
the
rule-
honorary win.
we don't
yeah.
have a good way to good way to tie break yet. And
Somebody
so
else.
both
Wait,
people get it.
if there's a tie, I feel like the person not in the tie should come up with a question on the fly for the other two.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. Zane, this is how we're doing it now. I don't know if you've been around since we changed the format, but here we go. On this day in 2011, which tech CEO died of cancer? Alden.
Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs is correct. That is a whopping 1 point for Alden. Hang on, I got to put Zane back on the scoreboard now that he's back. There we go.
No, you don't need to do that.
Next question. On this day in 1989, the Dalai Lama won what coveted prize? Zane.
The Nobel Peace Prize.
The Nobel Peace Prize is correct.
Not so coveted anymore. That war
Fair.
pigs get it.
Give Zane a handicap by keeping him off.
Yeah, there you go. Well, and Nobel invented dynamite as well, so it's kind of ironic. Just the Peace Prize.
Grumpy Gnome said
Well,
Abraham Lincoln to the first.
I mean, the
question.
reason why
awesome.
Alfred Nobel founded the Nobel Peace Prize was because he
It's-
felt bad about having made all that money off of dynamite.
It was like a publicity stunt. Honestly, truly, though, the Nobel Peace Prize was made to
Okay.
make him look better and keep
Well,
an
I want to see
image
the
going.
Hitler painting award then. How about that?
I mean, but
Is that
isn't
a
dynamite
prize
great?
that you win by painting pictures of Hitler? The Hitler painting award.
That's
All
how we have
right.
highways and trains and stuff. Is dynamite. We get to blow up mountains and
That's true.
blast
Dynamite is
through 'em.
extremely helpful. Like, that's a
Oh, yeah.
great invention, as long as you're not using it to blow up people. On this day in 1974, American Dave Kunst becomes the first person to circumnavigate the globe by using what method? Zane.
Hot air balloon.
Wrong. Alden.
A prop plane.
Wrong. Zach.
A zeppelin.
Nope. Steven.
A boat.
Wrong.
Is that
Zane.
the first one?
A kayak.
Nope. Zach.
Just human power.
I'll give it to you. His feet.
Yeah, okay.
How did he do that?
He
He had to
took
walk on
4
water.
years, took 21 pairs of shoes, and traversed 14,500 miles.
So he
No,
took
I'm
a
saying,
boat.
how did he get across the Pacific Ocean?
He took a boat. He just walked in place.
What I'm
the whole
guessing,
time.
I can't remember. I remember reading this earlier. I can't remember exactly how that happened, but he definitely walked up to where Russia and Alaska almost meet. And I can't
walked
remember how he
the
got from
Bering
one to the
Strait.
other. But he did.
I
My
walked
grandfather
to-
walked that far to school one way.
All uphill.
Yeah.
Right. Zach, you or Nick on the scoreboard. I got to fix that. All right. Here we go. Question number 4. On this day in 1947, who gave the first ever televised presidential speech? Alden.
Harry S. Truman.
Harry Truman is correct. All right.
Was he wearing a skirt when he did it?
It's a kilt.
On this day in 1930, what type of transportation unit crashed in Beauvais, France, killing all but 7 people on board? Zane.
A zeppelin.
Yeah, a British airship. That is
Have any of
correct.
you guys ever watched A Christmas Story?
Mhm.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Oh my goodness, it's a zeppelin.
My favorite line, I think, is "Fragile." Must be Italian.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. My dad has that lamp in his house.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Question number 6. On this day in 1892, what gang who had terrorized Oklahoma, primarily holding up trains, was finally wiped out by the townspeople of Coffeyville, Kansas? Zach.
The Cowboys from Tombstone.
Wrong.
The Val Kilmer gang.
Brian is incorrect. This is a tough question.
It's
a hard one.
Does it begin with a B? Am I allowed to ask?
I can't give hints until everyone's answered at least once. Steven?
Billy the Kid and his group.
No. Zane and Alden. And the audience. Y'all have 10 seconds.
I'm gonna just
Alden.
jumble some words together. It's like Bardsters or something. I don't know. Nope. Isn't it like? Wait. Did you mention this, or are they brothers or something?
I didn't mention anything.
Okay.
Zane, you get the last go before I open it up one more time and give a slight hint that won't help anybody.
I feel like I should know this, but it's not coming to me.
Are you going to pass on your first guess?
Yeah.
All right. The hint is it's the blank gang, and it starts with a D.
That's what I said. A D.
The Dude Gang.
No, but I like that better.
Yeah.
5. Alden?
Is it Darby?
No. Brian, you are incorrect. Steven?
Durango?
Nope.
I thought you were going to say deranged. The deranged gang.
There you go.
All right. It is the Dalton gang.
God dang it.
Yeah, that was might be the hardest question in the whole thing. So here we go. Question number 7. On this day in 1919, which future car manufacturer entered his first ever race as a driver? Zach.
Ferrari.
Full
I don't know
name.
his first name. Yeah, I don't know.
Who can?
I'll just think of a random Italian name.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna do. I tried to beat everyone just to guess the first
I mean, I
Italian
got to give it to Zach because at this point everybody knows it's Ferrari. Now we're
Wait.
Yes.
Amelia
can I-
Ferrari.
Does anybody know his first name? Just say it.
I do.
What?
Go ahead, Steven.
Yeah.
Enzo.
Yeah. Alden, did you know his name too?
No, I was gonna say Luigi.
Grumpy
Jackie
Gnome says Jackie Chan.
Jackie Chan. Yeah.
Jackie Chan Ferrari.
It is Enzo Ferrari.
Oh, the car model. I should have known.
Car manufacturer. All
Is that
right.
Mario?
Next question. Question number 8. On this day in 2007, which track Olympian was stripped of all medals after admitting to steroid use? Zane.
Oh, why did I do that? I don't actually know.
Steven.
Carl Lewis.
Wrong.
Okay.
It's a good guess.
Yeah.
Zach.
Usain Bolt.
Wrong. I'll give a
Oh,
hint
no.
once everybody has guessed once.
Come on, guys. Just name a track star. There's like
I
9.
was thinking of Oscar Pistorius, but that's obviously wrong for
Is
other
it-
reasons.
Is it men's or women's?
I'm not giving any hints, Alden. Stop asking dumb questions. You're supposed to be answering them.
Yeah.
You're supposed to
I
answer the
don't-
dumb questions.
I'll wait for I don't know track stars, so I don't know.
Okay, I'll give a hint. It is an American woman. Zane.
Marion Jones.
Marion Jones is correct.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
The reason I know that is because I was back when back in 2020 when they had to stop filming new episodes of Jeopardy for a couple of months. They started doing like airing classic episodes, and I was watching Ken Jennings' first ever episode, and the final Jeopardy question on that episode was about Marion Jones. So she's the only American female track star that I know.
She's one of the most famous ones of all time, so that would make sense.
This is like a
With your
Slumdog
Slumdog Millionaire.
moment.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking. Yeah.
And she got stripped of her medals and admitted to the steroid use like years later. So
She had years to hold on to it. It's fine.
Oh, just wait for the Michael Phelps confession. Gee whiz.
We just need a
All
steroid
right.
league.
or just
That
allow
would
everybody
actually
to
be
do
fun.
steroids.
Yeah.
Number 9. On this day in 2001, which player broke Mark McGuire's home run record with his 71st and 72nd dinger of the season, ending the season with 73 total? Steven.
Sammy Sosa.
Wrong. Alden.
Barry Bonds.
Barry Bonds is correct. Let's see. All right. Final question of round 1. On this day in 1969, which iconic comedic television series, later developed into films as well, premiered in the UK? Alden.
Monty Python.
Monty Python is correct.
Yeah.
How about that?
I love Monty Python.
I've got to say, this is a good format change if you're trying to stop me from winning all the time. Because
you're a speed reader.
I just know that had these questions been written out on the slide, I would have like 5 or 6 points right now.
Yep, I think that was the whole idea behind it, Zane.
Yeah. Yeah, we
try
talked
to even the playing field a little bit.
It's a conspiracy.
After round 1, Alden has 4, Zane has 3, Zach has 2. Steven, you got diddly squat.
Yeah, Enzo.
You technically got Enzo.
That's you know what? I was
I'll
like,
share
wait,
that
didn't
with
he
him.
get one?
Okay.
Yeah.
If Zach wants to share, then Zach has 1.5, Steven has 0.5.
Tiebreaker territory.
There we go. All right. Next round. Question number 1, if I can pull it up on my end. In which year were the first modern Olympic Games held, and in what city? Zane.
1896 in Athens, Greece.
That is correct.
Wow.
Zane.
Nice.
It makes sense that it was Athens.
Yeah, that part makes a lot of sense.
That wouldn't have made sense to me. I would have been like, no, that's ancient Olympics.
Yeah. Yeah. I would have said Athens, Georgia, just to be cheeky, you know.
Question number 2. Who is the only athlete to have won gold medals both in summer and winter Olympics in different sports? Zane.
Oh, it's that guy from Tonga whose name I don't know.
Perfect.
It's really helpful.
Yeah.
I think Steven was next.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Sean White.
Wrong.
Damn.
It's a good guess.
Good
though.
guess. Good guess.
Yeah.
Alden.
Michael Phelps. He's got his skis. He doesn't even
Oh.
need skis. He just uses his feet, you know.
Zach.
I was going to say Sean White, so I'll go Tara Lipinski.
Wrong.
I don't know what she would do in the summer, but
Here's the hint. He won a gold in boxing in 1920 and a gold in bobsleigh in 1932.
All right, so it's not the guy from Tonga then.
Cuba Gooding Jr.
Wrong. Steven.
Was it the guy they called the Hurricane? He's in the Bob Dylan song. I don't know the guy's actual name. I don't know any boxers from the 20s. I'm just guessing.
You can tell it's old because it's still called bobsleigh and not
I know.
bobsled.
That was going to ask if this is two different things. Yeah.
No, it's just before they started calling it bobsled.
Yeah.
Are we just shouting out or still need to be called on?
I mean,
Just shout
I
him
have
out at
no
this
idea.
point. I don't care.
Sugar Ray Robinson.
No. Alden,
year was it?
You get one more. 1920 and 1932.
I feel like Sugar Ray Robinson was like in the 60s or something.
5, 4,
I have time blindness.
3, 2,
Hitler.
1.
That's
Eddie Egan.
I didn't
the
know
correct
this
answer.
person existed, so
Sucks for you. Which country boycotted the 1980 Summer Olympics that were held in Moscow? Zane.
The U.S.
The U.S. is correct.
oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah. I mean,
Turns out I don't know a lot about the Olympics.
Cold War much?
Ah,
Racking up 28 medals in total, who is the most decorated Olympian of all time? Alden.
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
He's only been mentioned 3
I'll
times
just say
already.
Michael Phelps for every question. Like,
All right. Final question of this round. What was the first year that women were allowed to compete in the Olympics? Zane.
Let's go 1908.
Okay. Alden.
1924.
Okay. Steven.
1932.
Okay. Zach.
1916.
2000.
All right. Alden and Zach split it. 1920.
Nice.
We all just based ours off Alden or Zane anyway. If he would have gone with 1500, I would have too.
What did Zane say?
I said
1908.
1908. I thought there were a few sports where women started to be able to compete pretty early, but
Wait.
I guess it was a few years too early.
I said
You said
1924.
1924, and Zach said 1916.
He said 1908.
Zach said
Zane did.
1916.
Oh.
Which is funny because there was not an Olympics in 1916 because of World War One.
You know,
But he was close enough to. Oh, was there not really?
little known fact about the 1920 Olympics, it was also the year the Olympics started to suck because women were allowed into sports.
There we go.
Yeah.
That's why 12
Hot
years
take.
later, an old washed-up boxer won a bobsledding medal.
He's like, well, if we're gonna change the rules, yeah.
All right, round 3. 3 questions, 3 points each.
Could we get a score check?
Oh yeah, let's do that.
And what's the topic of the last round?
Hostile life.
Ah, that's right.
After 2 rounds, Alden has 7, Zane has 7, Zach
Ooh.
has 2.5, and Steven is still stuck at half a point. The audience has 0. Good job, audience. Grumpy Gnome, you're a little late, man. And also, 1978 is way off. Sorry, bud.
That's actually pretty funny, though, given the context of their question.
Okay. Question number 1 of round 3. What is the name for the practice of hostile guests leaving behind unwanted or unused items for others to use? Alden.
An upper decker.
Oh,
Yes.
let's not get into that. Okay,
Mhm.
Zane, I believe.
Littering.
So simple, but so funny.
Zach.
Free cycling.
No, that's a good one. That's a good one. Steven.
Gifting.
Nope. Anybody else? Alden.
Leave behind. I'm just putting words together. I don't know.
Anybody? 5, 4. Zane.
Regifting.
No, that's good.
I like it.
3, 2, 1. Hostile swapping or hostile trading?
Yeah.
Yeah, if you haven't
So-
traveled in hostels a lot, then you're probably not going to get these. But
I was gonna
it's
say-
round 3. They're supposed to be very difficult.
I was going to say Jake will know more about this, but he's asking the questions.
Yeah, that was the whole point. All right. Question number 2 of this round. In some hostels, guests are required to complete a specific task or chore as part of their stay. What is this practice called? Alden.
Hand job. No. No, I was going to say like turn down the room or like turn down the bed or whatever.
No, it's a more general term for the other tasks as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And definitely not the first one.
Yeah.
Zach.
No.
Earning your keep.
No.
Okay.
Oh, Brian broke a bed at a hostel one time.
Ooh, it sounds like a good night. Yeah.
Sounds like a good
Yeah.
night.
Yeah.
Brian. Alden.
Clean?
No. Zane.
Being too poor to afford to stay in a hotel.
You need to be, it's a prerequisite. You have to be poor.
Here we go,
Steven.
here we go. Indentured servitude.
Incorrect. Alden.
Lock the door?
Oh my gosh. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's just called hostile
Hostile
duty.
duty?
You were
That's
closer with
duty.
your first one, Alden.
Um,
Let's see. Final question. And this will tell us who wins because Alden and Zane are still tied.
yeah.
This is a number question. So you each get one guess. So make it count. As of 2021, the last year that the data was available to ChatGPT, St. Christopher's Inn in Paris, France was the largest hostel in the world. How many travelers could it accommodate at one time? Steven.
35.
Zach.
5,380.
It's a small nation. Oh my god.
Zane, you got to guess.
500.
Alden.
Oh, so it's basically over or under 500. Is basically where we're at this point.
If you don't say 499 or 501, you're an idiot.
I mean, that's what you have to do. Oh no, I feel because I'm gonna go 499.
Alden wins.
Yay!
I didn't go over.
It came down to an over under.
Yeah, it's not a whatever that is. Alden wins, y'all. Alden
Good
wins.
job, bud.
All right, thanks for
Thanks, man.
playing. Alden got 10, Zane got 7, Zach got 2.5, Steven got 0.5. And that's the end of Libations trivia for today, y'all. Let's go back to our regularly scheduled programming.
Regular.
We do have a question from somebody who has I don't think has commented on our stream before. So what is CBDC? Who wants
It's
to take
CBD
this?
coin.
Who wants to
So it
take
stands
this?
for central bank digital currency.
There we go.
So prima facie, at face value, it sounds like a great idea. It's really convenient. You don't have to carry around all this paper anymore, all these coins, worry about, is my value going to decrease over time? How do I store this stuff? How do I get it to and fro? What if it falls on the floor and gets dirty? You don't have to worry about all that stuff. You don't have to worry about your dollars crinkling up in the corner of your wallet and you got to shove them down to get them in there right. You don't have to worry about all that stuff, right? Just let the government do it all, but they're tracking it and monitoring all of it. So it's the track and control system. Mark of the beast for those religious folks. That's really kind of how they get you.
Well, let's pause for 1 second, Stephen, and talk about how you use the word fro, and why don't people use to and fro all that often anymore? Because I don't know why, but that stuck out to me, man. To and fro.
I try to bring some things back every now and then.
And back again.
Yeah. Did the black community appropriate the word fro to mean something completely different than what it
cultural
was originally?
Appropriation?
Man. Yes. Because that seems like a really British phrase.
Yeah.
To and
pick
fro.
My fro, dog. Hold up. That's appropriation, man. I can't handle that.
I mean, other people can have fros, like Jews, for instance.
Fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't
me after out in a steamy environment.
fair enough. Anyway, back to the CBDC. Yeah, Stephen, keep going, buddy.
So it's the federal government control answer to cryptocurrency and its popularity and portability and scalability and all that kind of stuff. It's their way of having their fugazi introduced into the market, and they try to coax you into buying into their platform. So like there's a town in Italy right now, for instance, I think it's Bologna is how I pronounce it. I'm probably mispronouncing it in Italian. But
Bologna.
Yeah, exactly. If you prove that you're recycling and using public transit and this, that, and the other, they will give you tokens. I forget which token they're using right now.
That's what I was going to say, Zane.
What's that?
Yes.
Those have value, though.
What have value?
Chuck E. Cheese tokens.
Yeah, they'll give you exclusive discounts to some kind of, go see the local concert this weekend, whatever. They'll give you, free bus passes. They're throwing these things at you to try to get you on this train of using their digital currency, whatever that is. But the only problem is they are tracking it and tracing it. So let's not forget that the linchpin of cryptocurrency is anonymity.
So
you're in control of your own security. It is secure if you use it, so long as you don't give your passkey to anyone else.
So I disagree with the anonymity part. I think there are only a few cryptos out there that really go for privacy and anonymity. I think.
And now Jake is going to spend the next 15 minutes talking about Monero. Ready, set, go.
I'm not going to talk about Monero. I don't care about Monero. Like I'll have some stuff in Monero, but I don't trust it just because it's not Bitcoin. Like I love privacy, but there are certain things about Monero that are scary and not my favorite aspect of cryptocurrency. And so like, I don't think the whole thing with crypto is that it's anonymous. I think it's that it is secure and no one can take it from you.
There you go.
It's Bitcoin is actually public by default.
Yes.
So it's pseudo anonymous, meaning if you go through the steps to acquire it anonymously, you can then spend it pretty anonymously.
Yes.
But it's up to you.
Correct. And so the CBDC, basically what's like, the CBDC is the end of civilization as we know it.
It's the end of cash, which is the only truly anonymous currency. I mean, honestly.
What's going to give it rise, what's going to let it grow in popularity is soft men creating hard times.
Yeah.
So related sidebar. How many of you guys went to go? Because I lived in Washington at the time, so it was a different world. But I went to go buy things during COVID, and I was going to use cash, and they were like, "Oh, we can't take cash."
There's still places like that in Atlanta.
Seriously?
Yep.
Okay, because I started to honestly think that was fishy, and this was, then we learned how long it lasted on surfaces and whatever, and I'm like,
no, dude, it's a big push. Like,
yeah,
that companies there are many, many, many companies in Atlanta that will not take cash, and they say it at the front of their establishment. Like,
and it's the greater metro areas, not just Atlanta. This isn't isolated to just your average, next door metropolis.
Yeah.
It's spreading into the suburbs and in rural areas. I can't even say that right.
Rural Jur.
Yeah, there you go. Rural Georgia. Even some places in there, because they don't want to pay for a square terminal or anything like that. Or once they do, they don't want to have a cash register.
Yeah.
They probably don't want to get robbed.
That's it.
I honestly am gonna go on a conspiracy limb and say that I'm gonna get us banned, but COVID was part of the CBDC plan, is to make people skeptical of cash and then be like, oh, we have this other shiny new thing a couple of years later. Like,
yeah, this is interesting.
I think that they're related. But
so on cash, it says this is legal tender for all debts, public and private. So technically speaking, don't businesses, I mean, I don't agree that they should have to take it, but don't they have to take it if you're a business in the United States?
I can also,
if you pay with card, that's still like it's U.S. money.
It's tender. Yeah, it's still. You would think though, but what Jake is saying is that if you offer a legal tender, that you should have to accept it. Like, not that debit isn't counted.
I'm not saying you should have to accept it. I'm saying under what the current laws and regulations are,
legal purview of currency or whatever. Yeah.
I mean, what that's really meaning is that, like, if you have debt denominated in dollars, then you have to accept that bill. You can't be like, oh, we have this debt, but I'm not going to take dollars. I will only take, gold or silver. It doesn't let you do that. But like, if you have not entered into a contract or purchase agreement yet, if I want to say I'm going to sell you this, but only in exchange for 5 chickens, I can do that. Right. It doesn't force you to enter into any deal. It just says if you have something that's dollar denominated, you can't get out of it by saying I will only take, precious metals or something else, which is what a lot of people try to do when the government has a bout of inflation and everybody realizes that paper money is garbage.
And they just use seashells.
Like, no, this is legal currency. You must take it.
Gotcha. All right.
I think the worst part about the CBDC,
CBDC,
infinitum, whatever, there is going to be how they will use it for like social control, like Steven was getting at.
Yes.
One thing I'll nitpick with what Steven said was that it won't lose its value. I think it may lose its value by design, where there's, you might have a negative interest rate attached to your bank account, where you have to spend it or it loses value over time, because these Keynesians think that if you're just spending money like crazy, that's helping the economy. They don't like savings.
Wow.
And then it will be attached to being a good citizen too. Like, maybe you'll get some small amount of money, some UBI for doing menial jobs or whatever. And if you're doing something they find destructive, like buying guns or buying weed or whatever, then maybe you get deducted automatically. Your fine is paid without your consent even.
We've seen it with like PayPal and with different people not able to use certain like apps and things like that. And like, so we've already started to see like where if you're, what was it when the truckers were doing their whole thing and
GoFundMe froze all their money. They just straight up stole all their money. And I think the best avenue now, if you're trying to donate, is Give, Send, Go. That's what I've heard the alternative is. But Zach, that was excellent point about the negative interest rate, because as long as cash exists, central banks cannot impose a negative interest rate, because they know that if they start taking money out of your account, you'll just change all of it to cash. And unless they come into your house and literally take cash from you, then it will always hold its value, or at least your balance won't literally decrease. But if all of your savings are, in the central bank system, they can just
manipulate
your
it
account
at
be
will.
whatever they want. And if they
Yeah.
want to say we're having an interest rate of negative 2%, then every year they'll just decrease your account by 2%, and that'll be that.
It's almost like
also the WEF, the World Economic Forum types, have already come right out and said this is not a conspiracy. They've literally said this. You can go watch it on YouTube. They have said that CBDCs can be used to prevent people from buying guns and ammunition.
Yep.
See,
It literally
it's
said
baked
that.
in. Jesus.
100%.
Yep.
Yeah.
Brian mentioned something. Hang on, Stephen. Sorry.
Yeah.
Brian asks, are we going to get into the lore of the time when FDR changed the gold dollar ratio and it messed up a bunch of gold denominated
I was just going to
contracts?
mention the gold standard and things like that, and that this is like a scaled version, like an extension across time of a similar kind of a thing when you start to take away a
completely
physical
different
anchor.
thing. The gold standard is awesome. CBDCs are terrible.
No, I'm saying, but the CBDC coming in and taking that away from like the cash as like being that physical anchor where, like you were saying, you can take cash out of your bank account,
right,
so that it can't be just digital and manipulable, you know, then
and
that is...
And when no, and that's an anonymity with crypto in regards to your transactions not being made public. I mean, yes, they are on the ledger,
right,
you know, but the average curmudgeon is not going to access the ledger to look for your transaction.
And unless your name is associated with that account,
right?
Then they're not
most often it's just
they don't know what you
address.
bought.
Yeah,
yeah,
and they don't know what you bought. Yeah, all that.
Yeah, so you have to be incredibly savvy to be able to see that. Whereas, some guy with a badge can just go to your local Dunkin' Donuts and go, "I need all the last 4 digits of every card number you swiped this morning."
Right.
Oh yes, sir. Oh here you go. And they can generate the report right there, and it's just way too easy. No warrant needed, none of that stuff, and that's when all of your transactions are monitored and tracked by the government and therefore controlled. You'll have this ever increasing list of hostel duties while you live in your pod.
What did that comment say?
You'll have an ever increasing list of people that you have to give hand jobs to.
Brian also commented,
exchange.
they're going to lure people in with things like free foreign exchange and such first. Yeah. Exactly right. They're going to say, well, like the
free hand jobs.
Yeah.
I mean,
free hamburgers more like free cricket burgers.
One thing they'll definitely do is be like, okay, you have $1,000 in your bank account, you have $1,000 saved up, so we're going to give you 2,000 CBDC dollars.
Right, we'll match you or whatever.
Just come turn in your dollars. You can get 2,000 CBDC dollars, and so you'll have more, and you can start your whole life over again or whatever.
Yeah,
they're going to do a whole bunch of shenanigans to get people on board with this system. And they're going to prey on people's tendency to want convenience.
They're going to prey on that. And how about just people being poor?
Yeah.
And the person that's incentivized by $200 worth of anything to make a big transition in their life that principles be damned again. It doesn't come down to that because you're in such a tight spot that you will actually consider it.
Yep. Look at how many people took an experimental genetic therapy for a free donut.
Yeah. That's why I said a hamburger or a donut, man.
As Bill de Blasio would say, it's the donut factor.
See? Yeah.
All right.
And we think about this a lot on the... Go ahead, Zane.
Oh, I was just going to say, Stephen, talking about you being able to go, the cops being able to go into Dunkin' Donuts and requesting every single transaction that they've had. That's very true. But just think about how much worse the surveillance would be when every single transaction is through the government to begin with.
Yeah.
At least when everybody's going through like 20 different credit card companies, 100 different banks, there is no way that the government could effectively amalgamate all of that information. Even if they can get pieces of it, they can't know all of it all the time because it would just, I work with large data sets in my job. I can't possibly imagine how hard it would be to collect all of that information. But if they just start off with all that information, surveilling everybody gets way easier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, let's watch this video real quick. Zach, go ahead and play it because this leads directly into everything we were just talking about.
Americans especially had no idea what it was like in the EU during COVID. So we all had, or I didn't because I refused it, but you had to have it in order to go to bars, go to restaurants, go in some places even to work. A digital QR code on your phone that other citizens, mind you, were able to scan because they released both the application for the QR code and the application to check the QR code to the public. And that was what we had to use in order to get to places. Well, I mean, I know that the measures, the restrictions were draconian in America too, but most of you guys had a paper pass. And now I'm obviously not encouraging anybody to do anything illegal ever, but
I know where this is going.
There are ways around that. And there are no ways around a digital QR code when somebody is standing there in front of the door saying, ma'am, I need to scan that. And that's where we're heading towards, because indeed, exactly that technology is now adopted by the World Health Organization and will be probably mandated for all of us in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Federalism for the win.
Yeah.
What country was it in?
The organization is also called ID 2020. Ah,
20
coincidence.
Really?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the goal was to give this huge influx of immigrants that's coming down to the southern border, give them a QR code, give them a smartphone with their own QR code. And then they have their own little CBDC wallet. They have their electronic health records, all of that stuff. So they can just be assigned their position in
how convenient
whatever area they want to destabilize next.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
What country was it that did the like little chip in the palm thing? The like vaccine passport in the, it was like Finland or something, or something like that. Somewhere it was Europe. Okay. Like,
I'm not sure if it was just one country. I think like you had that option in a few different countries.
Okay.
I don't think you were ever forced to do that. I think
people it wasn't
voluntarily,
but it was
idiotic.
It was celebrated and it was accepted by many. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is one thing that's so.
Shoulder, put a chip in your hand.
Yeah.
This is one thing that's so sad about living in a world where there are states. Because if we all lived in Ancapistan, imagine how awesome implanted microchips would be. But we can't have them because obviously the state's going to use them for all the evil things that they're going to do.
Yep. There we go.
Yeah, could be cool. I'll never do
it. Yours runs Linux. So back to the CBCDs for 1 second. Imagine that QR code. There had to have been some bar that just didn't do it. If that's the case with CBCDs, they'll turn off their ability to make money. It's like, fine, nobody can spend money at your bar now.
That's a perfect link. Yeah, you can't even have a speakeasy anymore. You know?
But then it goes to trading in gold and silver and precious metals, and
which would be ideal.
Bullets and all the
great
stuff.
And they'll do it with non-physical locations too. Like Elon takes over Twitter. They're like, well, he's racist, so we can't allow people to buy Twitter
American.
Blue.
He can't be racist.
And then then Elon invents another crypto, and they can't do that anymore.
I'd be a rich man if we were just to use bottle tops, man. Like, let's use beer tops.
Okay,
as currency.
You sound like an alcoholic at this point. So.
An alcoholic.
No
for
libation
free currency,
shaming.
Yeah.
All right, Zach. Let's go to the next one. There we go.
I think is the most powerful man on the planet.
BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. These three companies are the largest shareholders of 8% of S&P 500 companies. Do you know how much total money there is in the world circulating? It's around $430 trillion, $440 trillion. They control $66 trillion of the entire world's wealth. So the commander-in-chief is not who we think it is. It's the CEO of BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street. It's people like Larry Fink and George Soros. They have influence. We've always been like, is it good for a guy like Elon Musk to be as rich as he is? Elon Musk is nothing compared to what these guys are doing collectively together.
Yep.
Yeah.
Agree 100%.
You look at this Forbes, top 100 list, the top 10 are farts in the wind compared to the Rothschild family.
All right, so there were comments on this video that didn't pop up on that particular screen.
Oh, sure.
It said this guy said this is very misleading. These companies are the largest 401k holders. They are holding all of these shares on behalf of millions of investors that actually own the shares.
Yeah, but they use that money and they invest that money.
Yes.
So they're holding it.
Right.
It's a little bit more complicated than that. I definitely agree that can be happening, especially in investment funds that are labeled like ESG funds, where they're explicitly saying they're investing based off ESG considerations. So environmental, social, and governance, which is, as Michael Heiss would say, evil socialist garbage. But that most of that 66 trillion is being held in passively managed index funds. So like you've got the S&P 500, where it's like the 500 biggest companies in the US or whatever. And a lot of these companies will offer these index funds that just invest in those companies in roughly the proportion that they make up the S&P 500 index. And from what I've heard, those passively managed funds are currently not investing based off ESG stuff. And if they were to start to, they would immediately get hit with a bunch of lawsuits for fiduciary malpractice. Because if you want to be invested into an index fund where you've got all the companies, and then you find out actually all these funds are excluding certain companies, then that's a breach of their fiduciary duty, and they could be sued for that. So,
okay, but even outside,
not all of them are fiduciaries. You got like Vanguard. Vanguard's well known for selling what's called dog funds. So you get a guy that just got his S7. He just got his license. He's fresh out of school. He's got to get some clients on the hook and all this kind of stuff. And he's going to give you just below, your average investor advisors are going to give you, 7 to 10% these days. This guy's going to sell you something at about 6%. And he knows half of this basket he's putting you in is dog crap. That's why they're called dog funds. But he'll take you out for a nice steak dinner and pump you up and everything.
Most of these funds, though, are not being managed off the basis of one guy. It's these massive index funds where like hardly anybody's touching it at all. They've got some computer that just adjusts the holdings based off of the movement of the values of the company and the index that it's tracking. I'm not saying that never happens, but that's not where most of the 66 trillion is.
Or like in 08 when they were all packaged to look better than they were with the whole, what the hell is it, the AA, AAA mortgage packs or whatever, and the
mortgage-backed securities where you take where you take 1,000 home loans where nobody
that are worth,
much of them are expected to not pay them back, but when you package them together, it becomes more likely that at least some of them will get paid back.
Right.
But then what these people didn't take into consideration is what if the entire housing market crashes at the exact same time?
Then they all go to shit. Like
pay them back.
Yeah.
I mean, the Big Short's one of the best books and one of the best movies of the last 2 decades. Like, it's so dang good. It was a huge proponent in me and Nikki selling our place in LA and buying land in Montana was because of watching The Big Short and everything that was happening. Because we, big tangent. I'm not going to go down it. Forget it.
No, that's okay. I like The Big Short a lot, and I like Vice that he made, like, about that whole thing. Like, I like it as a film more than I like it as like an education on what was going on at that time.
Yeah.
But he's made some cool stuff. But Big Short, I like.
The point is, though, the richest people on the planet are not often talked about. The average moron is going to tell you Elon Musk is the richest guy on the planet, or Jeff Bezos, or Bill Gates. One of those guys. But they don't talk about the Rothschild family that owns central banks that essentially owns the countries that have them as a central bank.
Yeah. And a bank.
The central bank is, it's all interrelated, but that's a little bit of a separate topic than these big asset managers, where they're kind of controlling the money, but it's not their money. And if people could remove it from them when they felt like it. And one other thing I did hear is that, the amount of money that's been invested into explicitly ESG funds went way down from 2021 to 2022. So there is reason for hope here. And it's not just that a few really powerful people are investing $66 trillion exactly the way that they personally want. Sorry, I know I'm going on a bunch of rants here. This happens to be the exact field that I work in. So I
No,
know
it's okay.
about it, but
Yeah, exactly. Well, the answer to the Great Reset is the Great Awakening, and
The
it all starts
re-reset.
with guys like us talking about this kind of stuff.
Yep.
The great create.
What's that Thomas Jefferson quote? Maybe Jamie can pull it up. That he's talking about like what he fears more than any standing army is like central banks. Basically, is like the concept.
Interesting.
I don't know, but yeah, banks are like what other thing other than banks and governments are just given the capital to like run their industry, business,
Militaries.
whatever. Well, that's government though, like.
Sure.
But yeah, that's what I'm saying. Banks and governments are
Until
the
the
only
military
things.
becomes the government.
Thomas Jefferson says, I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
There we go.
Yeah.
Smart dude. Smart dude. All right, let's pull up. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more, and then the funny times. Let's try to get through these. I've been waiting to do this trigonometry one. Oh, wait. No, it's not this one, Zach. There we go. Boom. Let's play that.
Oh, impact theory.
What are some of the things that sound good? All things to all people. Look after everybody. Blah, 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 blah. Sounds good. What if I say to you, your life is your responsibility? It's up to you to make what you want out of your opportunities and the difficulties that you experience. No one's coming to save you. No one. Right? We both know this. No one's coming to save you. But it doesn't sound good. It sounds terrible. And so if you have a system which amplifies ideas that sound good but don't work, that is how you end up in the position that we're ending up in. And increasingly, some of these ideas are beginning to clash with reality. And that's really the big narrative collapse that I see coming is at some point, these things will get so bad that reality will come and slap us in the face very, very hard.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah,
Man's got a good point.
If you don't know who he is, it's Constantine. I don't know how to pronounce his last name. Kissin, right?
I mean, I don't know that's how.
I think it's Kissin.
I think it's Smoochin.
He's formerly Russian, lives in the UK, and he runs Trigonometry, which is a great podcast. It's all about people getting triggered over things that they should never be triggered over.
Right.
Great podcast. They were just on Joe Rogan, actually, very recently.
Cool.
Him and his co-host. But yeah, I just thought that was a fantastic little summary of
it ties in nicely with what we were talking about earlier about like having an emotional response to something that it sounds good, but it is actually either like illogical or incorrect, or is going to cause you more harm than good down the line.
100%. 100%. All right, Alden, you're gonna love this one, man. So
yeah.
Let's play this.
5 days after the shooting, with no answers being given to the public, YouTube starts banning videos that would allude to multiple shooters in an FBI cover-up. On October 9th, one of the most compelling and vocal witnesses against the lone gunman narrative, Kimberly Suckamel, dies unexpectedly in her sleep at 28. She had spoken publicly about seeing and hearing multiple shooters during the attack and had made it known on social media that she was organizing a survivors group so others like her could come forward with the truth.
I know.
Here are some of the excerpts from her lengthy archive Facebook post.
I know this already.
Bullets coming from every direction. Behind us, in front of us, to the side of us. But I just know that there was someone chasing us. The further we got from the venue, the closer the gunfire got.
Yep.
I kept looking back, expecting to see the gunman. And I say men because there was more than one person. 100% more than one. The first place I remember getting to was a parking lot, and I told Cassie, we need to get under one of these trucks. She turned to me and started her way back to me, and that is when the gunfire got even closer than before. It was right there. It was within the parking lot. Everyone around us was panicking once again. The second place I remember going by was Hooters. We ran toward the entrance thinking we could take cover there, but as we got closer, a stampede of people ran out terrified. We could only conclude that there was another gunman inside of that.
Yep, and they found bullet casings all over the place in the city. Why would you find casings everywhere if they were all just, sequestered in the whatever hotel or whatever?
Why was the Saudi military doing a training op in the city at that same weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah. I want this to be
Helicopters and shit.
I want this to be the preview for what we're going to talk about next week. So I want
We're talking about Vegas?
We're going to talk about Vegas.
Oh,
yeah.
Dude.
Wait, you can't do it next week. I won't be here next week.
Okay. How many weeks till you be here?
I'll be back after that.
You'll be back after that?
I just got a I got a wedding this Thursday.
Okay. In 2 weeks.
I have a guest for us next
miss on the
week.
Vegas.
Perfect.
So let's do 2
Perfect.
weeks.
Okay.
That's fine.
In 2 weeks, we're going to be talking about Vegas because I think there's more and more evidence mounting all the time.
It's been mounted. It's been suppressed.
It's been brushed under the rug for far too long.
And by the way, the captain of police in Vegas at the time of the shooting was the chief in Lanai, Hawaii.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. I thought you
Yes.
were going to say there's a whole other linkage with. Oh man, I need to brush up. I got to get my notes
No,
out.
after Vegas, homeboy moved down to Hawaii, and then that happened.
No, but I'm saying even in the currently like just within that time within Vegas, I think it was the captain of the police was also like related to someone that like ruled on it. It was like his like daughter-in-law was also the one that ruled on something in it or whatever. There was like it's a whole big thing. I got to get my notes out.
It is, and it's Lahaina, not Lanai. Sorry.
Lahaina. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
So yeah, I just thought that was extremely interesting.
The day it happened, the night it happened, I was bartending and I went home and I started looking it up. And on YouTube, there was a bunch of people's cell phone footage of different spots, and you could hear multiple shooters and all kinds of things. And I should have saved them because they are gone now. They're absolutely completely scrubbed.
And it was not mass suicide from Jason Aldean's awful music. It was not that.
You might believe
it could have been, but it could have been.
Yeah,
that could have been a factor, but that wasn't all of it.
Interesting.
Wow, faking a mass shooting, try that in a small town.
Grumpy says there are black helos. That's
Yeah.
interesting. All right.
Yeah,
well,
since
we're
he
gonna-
mentions that, hold on. I know somebody who was there. Like a friend of mine's parents were there, and she told me a story. She's like, yeah, and then months later, maybe a year later, a helicopter flew over my house, and I was like having severe PTSD from that.
Yeah.
I don't know. That just reminded me of what Grumpy said, because helicopter, like, why would you have PTSD from a helicopter if there weren't a bunch happening while you were being shot at? But
there's videos too that the ones that were aired on TV, they've taken out the helicopters flying over. But if you can find the original footage of people filming it, there's helicopters circling around.
All right. Well, Alden, you have a 2-week project then. Find all the info.
Yeah.
you can.
I'll do my best.
You got anything else, Zane, before we move on?
Oh, I was just going to ask Alden, maybe this is a better question for 2 weeks from now. But like if you're more confident than not that it actually was, you know, a big op and there were multiple shooters and it was coordinated by the FBI,
Mm-hmm.
do you have legitimate concerns about talking about it on this show?
Oh, I've had concerns about it my whole life. Jake conned me into doing this show with you guys, and now I'm here. And yeah, I'm uncomfortable about it sometimes, but I'm entering into a new chapter somewhat willingly.
Well, I mean, I had a seizure yesterday after the EAS test, and you know, I'm just convinced there's nanobots inside me. So I've just got to say what I got to say before it's too late.
We're gonna skip the last 3 articles, Zach. They'd send us on too many tangents. By the time we get to the end of these tabs that I save, it goes all different directions. So we're running out of time. We're just gonna get to the funny stuff.
Speed round.
Yeah, funny stuff. Here we go. Yeah. Anybody else have anything to say before we wrap up the regular portion of the night? Beautiful.
I would just say the state-backed answer, you know, because at the end of the day, we are libertarians, and I like to think that most of us do agree with the way our country was initially set up.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not squabbling about the Bill of Rights and all that kind of crap. I'm talking about the government framework. Okay, like how the dichotomy of power was distributed, you know, throughout municipalities
with checks and balances and things.
90% of our governance should come from the state and local level. Yeah, exactly. You know, 90% plus of our governance should come from the state and local level. So if we're going to return to that and try to perpetuate this amazing life that we've had, our parents have had, our grandparents have had, even though our grandparents had to fight a couple of wars. If we're going to perpetuate that, the answer to the CBDC on the federal and even the state level is to have your state legislator pass a law to at least have gold backs issued, you know, or ban the CBDC, because a lot of states have come right out and done that.
Yep.
So if we're gonna take down the Fed, I mean, that's how you do it. You get a plurality of states to pull out of that system, have their own state bank. I know central bank is still a central bank. I get that, but this is a move in the right direction because it's still a withdrawal from the Federal Reserve System.
Yep.
So having the state bank issue its own gold-backed currency, and then we still have treaties and unions between the states that have done so. Which right now it's looking like we're about halfway there. As far as I know, I think there's 17 or 19 states that have either passed or introduced legislation to ban CBDCs, have gold backs, have their state-run bank ready to rip. So, overnight, the dollar fails, the Federal Reserve keeps doing this crap, whatever.
Yeah.
They flip a switch overnight. It's like you don't even blink. You don't really miss a step. You go back to the way things were 5 years ago.
Yep.
And try to start paying off your debts. Which, by the way, Iceland had their own little revolution back in like 2010. They told the IMF and the Rothschilds and all that kind of stuff. This number you have tagged to our national debt, we owe maybe 15% of that, so that's what we're going to pay. And
Yeah.
we're like, okay.
All right.
There we go.
What?
And their entire leadership went to jail, and then they got on with their lives. Just a little bump in the road.
The mini Great Reset.
Yeah, exactly.
What Brian?
I don't want to end with like all doom and gloom, like, oh my God, everybody's going to die. The dollar's failing. Look, there's enough people having similar conversations that feel the same way. That as long as we all act together at the right time, this is going to be all right.
I completely agree, Stephen, and I love Brian's misspelled word. Call your leggy critter.
Yeah.
And tell them you want gold and silver to be legal to enter
A legislator.
Yeah.
We had spent like an hour on the way home from Savannah talking about like the Articles of Confederation versus like, other whatever afterwards, like,
Federalist
iterations.
Papers, Anti-Federalist Papers, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Everything.
If you like the Constitution, you need to read Lysander Spooner.
Yeah. All right.
We'll set you straight.
Stephen, thank you for that, dude. Loved it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's laugh a little. Here we go.
To combat U.S. right-wing extremism.
Oh, wait. Hang on. Let me restart that one.
Need to donate $1 million to combat U.S. right-wing extremism. But Texan Johnny G. Texas, oil baron and billionaire, says he wants to fix Clooney's little red wagon for that statement. So Johnny has flown to Clooney's residence in Lake Como, Italy, to offer the adjacent property owners double the price for their properties. Johnny then plans to utilize Italy's recent migrant crisis by allowing anyone who wants to stay in the properties right next to Clooney's. In my opinion, he's a big hypocrite, Johnny G. Texas says. Well, this plan is still in the works, but we will follow this story and keep you updated.
That's a funny premise.
Yeah, we missed the beginning of it, but basically George Clooney's donating $1 million to combat U.S. right-wing extremism. And so this guy is doing the opposot.
Well, if I could get a little piece of that, I would probably stop doing the show.
What if you could combat the extremism by running to the right of the extremist?
Could I get on? But then you go so far right that you come left.
Yeah. Do I get for tequila out of this? Like.
All right. Next one. Here we go.
What?
They put a bunch of airbags under this guy's dorm room bed.
Wow.
All right. Those weren't Takata.
That is gnarly.
Now, if those were Takata airbags, there'd be shrapnel everywhere, right?
Yeah.
Man, I mean, that's funny, but also that dude definitely could have gotten a concussion.
He may even, yeah.
Yeah. I remember coming home from class one day in college, and my front door was a drawbridge. And I got back to the door of my dorm room at the same time as the RA, the dean, and a cop and they're all just beating on the door. And my silly ass roommate is like, they're like, let us in, let us in. You know, this is a fire code violation, blah, blah, blah. And he's, state thy name and thy kingdom.
That's so good.
No one shall pass unidentified.
That is
Hilarious.
so dang good. Oh
Yeah, and then finally, they said the right words. You stand aside, and then he just lets the rope go. And it's just plywood, just falls to the floor.
Good night, Grumpy.
Night, Grumpy.
Night.
All right, 2 more, y'all. 2 more, and then we're out. This guy's ingenious.
So he's not genius?
No need to ask, he's a smooth
I love it.
I mean, he literally made his steering wheel into a bowl, into
I
a
like
pan.
it.
That's
So
legit.
he can hold
The
his
only
steering
problem
wheel.
here is that you have to have had the tacos already made and then put them in there. What would be great is if you could put a heat source underneath and also in the steering wheel. Then you could make the tacos while you're driving.
All right. Okay.
Totally. Yeah. I don't see any problems with that.
No.
I think he was high on pot when he.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
That's the munchie mobile, man.
Yeah.
That is true.
If he's driving a right triangle, he's the hypotenuse.
All right. Here's the final one of the night, y'all. That's literally the whole
That's
video.
it. That's the whole video.
It's just this guy holding up a goat.
That's perfect.
I don't know
Goats
why
are
that-
so weird.
I don't know why that made me laugh so dadgum hard, but man.
It reminds me of the one that's like, my goat sounds like Will Ferrell in distress. Did you ever see that?
No.
Where the goat kind of does a scream and it's like, oh, and like it really did sound not like that, but it really did sound like Will Ferrell. You should find Will Ferrell goat. What's that?
I said then it just cuts to elf.
Yeah, basically.
So anyway, thought that was hilarious. Yeah. Brian says how he feels when taxes are due.
Brian's killing me, man.
Imagine if they weren't automatically deducted and we all had to write a check to the government every 2 weeks.
So I am in a position to do that soon here. I'm setting up my own business and I'm tempted not to, but I don't want to incriminate myself on here.
Yeah, tempted is
There you
not
go.
the same thing as doing it. So we'll leave
Well,
it at that.
I haven't decided.
All right, y'all. For everybody who's still watching and listening, thank y'all so much for tuning in to this episode of Liberty Libations, number 45. We appreciate y'all listening. We appreciate y'all watching. We appreciate the comments and the sharing and everything. It really helps us get in the algorithm a little bit more and talk about crazy crap that we like to talk about. Crap that a lot of people won't talk about and that we just love to do. You know.
I was in the logarithm today.
Oh my gosh. Goodness gracious. We can't. Next time we need to end before somebody says something that's stupid.
Well, then we just have to end right before
Just a
we
hard end, yeah.
Yeah.
Seems
Drop
unhappy
curtain.
with that joke.
Oh no. All right. Well, y'all, there was no Free Georgia podcast this past week, but there will be this coming week. So tune in to Free Georgia Podcast Monday nights at 8 p.m. And the Wrexham Texan on Friday nights and Sunday at noon. So if you're interested in soccer whatsoever, you should tune into that.
I can't believe you have an entire podcast just devoted to a League Two football team.
It's devoted to a League Two football team and the documentary series that is being made about the League Two football team. So mind your own business, Zane. You're not allowed to watch it. There you go. There's
I
your
wasn't watching
punishment.
anyway.
Shut your mouth. Yes, you were. All right.
BDC's cut off.
We'll see you. We'll see you next week. Peace.